Welcome to the Monday Monologue. Well, today we're going to look at the push-pull monoblocks that I've been working on. This one's completely finished, the one we tested and listened to. This one I whipped together doing the chassis fab on it, got all the components mounted, and just plugged some tubes in and stuff so you can see what this thing's going to look like as a pair. I think they're going to be awesome. I mean, I really like the way they symmetrically kind of like go in like this and like that, and then they're mirror images of each other. Got the two power switches because we have two separate power supplies, of course, because you have monoblocks. Each one's got its own volume control, so you can adjust the balance by how much gain you give each one, and then if one's got a little more gain than the other, you can balance that out. So that's a good feature, I think, and it keeps them totally separate. Have the speaker jacks on the outside with the RCAs right here, and I think these turned out great. So anyway, I do have to wire up the inside of this, and since I already have a plan on how I'm going to lay everything out, I think I'm going to kind of do a solder by solder, joint by joint kind of solder build on this. I know some of y'all have said in the past that you really enjoy watching me just soldering and working or whatever, and it's relaxing to watch. So you can skip ahead or just not watch those two videos if you're not really into that thing. But I know some of that content where I was doing some real kind of step-by-step soldering got a lot of views, so clearly some people enjoy watching that. What's next? Somebody sent me some plans for a very similar pair of amps like this that were designed to be integrated, and I may build them as an integrated instead of a pair of monoblocks. But it was a very similar design, but it used a 12AX7 instead of a 12AT7 and used EL34 tubes, which would obviously give us a lot more power. And then you could swap in some KT77s or some 6CA7s, and they give you some other tubes to play with. I know I've got the stuff here to build some KT88 monoblocks, but I think I do have a pair of some push-pull transformers, but I'm not sure if they're ultralinear, which, maybe time to try a pentode amp. I don't know. But anyway, that's kind of in the future. The next project, though, and it's been long coming, is a total rebuild on the Noob Sound 6P1. I've got mine, and then I've got a viewer that sent me theirs, and thank you for being so patient. It's been sitting here for probably 8 months, but I'm going to get on that, and I'm going to do a very step-by-step methodical. I'm going to strip that amp down to just the transformers and start from scratch. I think that there's a lot of defects in the way that amp was designed. For one thing, it doesn't need a cast-coated 6S7 to drive a 6P1 tube. A cast-coated 6S7 will drive a 300B, which is one of the harder tubes to drive. So a single triode will drive that easily. And so we may put something like a 6SF5, a single triode, 8-pin tube. Could even use a 6SQ7, something like that to drive the 6P1s. I'm not even sure that with the power transformer that it makes sense to be paralleling them. We may end up just running one of the tubes. The other thing that we may end up doing is using a solid state rectification to take the load off the power transformer so that we can pull more current through the tubes to actually get some power out of that thing. As it is, it's like a little 2-watt amp. My 6BM8 stomps it in the ground, and it's a spud amp with 2 tubes. And that thing's got, 7 tubes? Which is ridiculous to have that many tubes and it puts out 7 watts. I mean, I guess it's kind of eye candy, but anyway, we're going to fix that thing up. There's another possibility of exploring, like using that chassis and then replacing the output transformers with some little small push-pull ones and using the 6P1s as a push-pull setup. That's another thing we could do. And use the 6S and 7 as the amplification in the phase splitter. And just rewire the whole thing like that. And then you're using the same chassis for somebody that has one and they don't want to do the fab work and they want some decent power. We may be able to get, I don't know, 8 or 10 watts out of that little thing. So anyway, that's going to be the next thing after I finish this up. I have been exploring how the global negative feedback's done on this amp, and I'm, again, pretty new to push-pull kind of stuff, because it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. They have 2 resistors on the cathode of the input tube, with one of them bypassed, and then they're sticking the global feedback right up at the cathode pin and not between the resistors. And I see a lot of global feedback where they're putting it between the resistors, and they have the resistor that has bypass cap on it in the other position. So we may futz around with how that negative feedback's set up, and that's one of the beauties of doing it point to point, is you can easily change that stuff up, where when it's on a PC board like this, you really don't have a lot of options. So that's something we're going to dive into definitely before I call this good. I want to get the feedback, get that high-end ringing tamed down some, and get some of the brightness shaved off the top end to get the frequency response more even. And then this little pair of guys will be done, and I'll put the whole bomb schematic and everything. I mean, I know I've got kind of a starter bomb and schematic on the website, but again, like I've told y'all in the past, if y'all kind of build along with me, you're going to end up having all the same issues I have, unless you don't solder the wrong resistor set like I did. But we're not going to talk about that. Anyway, I think we got a good plan, at least for the rest of this month. Get these finished up, work on the 6P1, and then again, I've got so many projects that I can build after these, and I do think at some point I need to build what I want to build, so I stay excited about doing this. And I really want to build that 2A3 amp. I mean, I've got a couple of beautiful 2A3 tubes. I got the power transformer. I've got output transformers. Got chokes. I mean, I've got everything I need to build one. And I may, again, try to find a nicer chassis. If any of y'all know some really cool places to get chassis besides like these just Hammond ones, and that aren't crazy expensive. I mean, if they're maybe even up to $200, I could try, using one of those and building something a little different. I may actually consider doing one with just a flat aluminum plate and build like a walnut frame for it. I mean, I've got a little bit of woodworking skills, so that might be another thing I try. But anyway, that's some of the things I'm thinking about. Oh, the other exciting thing, a friend of mine has bought one of those Wiltison R8 KT88 push-pull amps that you see on Amazon for about $1,500, and he's going to let me review it, listen to it for a while. I've got some different tubes I can roll into it, play around with that, and then run it through the scope and the audio analyzer suite and come up with like, here are the real numbers that this thing puts out, and hopefully it's not a repeat of those Risong amps that are a quarter or a half of the power that they claim to be. But you know me, guys, I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to candy coat it. I'm going to tell y'all just like it is. And it actually might be another one of the amps that we end up doing a tune-up on and really turning it into something fantastic. It may be great out of the box. I've never heard it. And so that should be coming up soon too. So anyway, hope you're enjoying the channel. I'm happy to be back. Hope y'all are enjoying this content, trying to keep it fun and fresh, and hope y'all are enjoying this build. So if you are enjoying my content, please subscribe. We've hit 5,000 subs, which I never thought was going to be possible. If somebody told me a year ago that people would enjoy this channel and my doing this stuff this much, I would have never believed them. And so thanks again for all you people who have subbed, liked the video, click the little bell thing so that you get notifications. If you'd like to make a donation, there's a link in the description to a donation page. And I think that's it. Till the next Monday monologue.